Hi everyone, I'm Rashida, the editor-in-chief of Invite Media, and I'm joined by Zaid, the Students' Union president. And today we're just going to go through some questions about what he's been doing this year and how he feels about his progress so far. So Zaid, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah?
How are you feeling?
I'm good, man. Okay,
Period.
let's get into
Let's
it.
get into it.
Okay, so during a campaign this year, you highlighted your want to lobby to help reduce prices all over campus. So such as like the ones in student accommodations and catering facilities and in the co-op. So aside the cost of living open letter, which I know you did, and the task force that you put in place, what other tangible changes are being put in place to support students during the cost of living crisis?
This is really important. Obviously, the cost of living open letter is very much on the bigger picture level where you actually are lobbying the government to take us seriously and to help us out. But tangible stuff is important because we need to help students right now.
Yeah.
So things that have come out of the task force and things that have come out from us lobbying different stakeholders in the university is the £3 Rutherford meal. That's something we worked really, really hard towards to make sure that students had an affordable option of eating here on campus because as we look around, the average meal price is like £6 per meal.
Yeah.
And that's not okay.
Yeah, that's not feasible for students.
No, and especially if you're here for like 9 to 5, you have classes all day. You don't have time to bring in your lunch. You don't have time to like prepare it earlier. You need somewhere to eat to fuel yourself. And those £3 meals are so hearty. We made sure that they were proper meals, not just like a meal deal.
Yeah.
But it's like proper meals, and every single day there's a vegan option and a meat option, so you have options for all students, caters to all of those.
Yeah.
And it also makes sure that you have a healthy meal.
Yeah.
That sustains you for the whole day.
Yeah.
Beyond that as well, we've worked on implementing Too Good To Go within co-op and the Gulbenkians as a collaboration. So the co-op from our side and Gulbenkian from the university.
Yeah.
And Too Good To Go is really a really good app. If people who don't know, Too Good To Go, you can basically, at the end of the day, things that are going to waste can actually be given to students and to people who buy it.
Yeah.
It's a £3 magic bag, but you get about £10 to £15 worth of food.
That's
Which
amazing.
is right. Like especially helps it reduce waste. So you have sustainability in mind there.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're not kind of losing money on things as well. So it's really good on the financial side, but also you help out the students who need it the most, and those are the people that are using those apps that are able to actually access those facilities. In terms of accommodation, that's a big one. We know how expensive accommodation costs are, and organizations and individuals alike are facing the cost of living crisis. So we're worried that costs are going to go up, but we have been in conversations from the beginning with the accommodation team on their accommodation pricing strategy for next year. We don't have much impact this year, but for next year, we want to make sure that it's continues with a ladder of rent. So you have basically an entry point for students from lower income households to have accommodation on campus. And it goes all the way from that set $5K a year upwards. But we want to make sure that those include the right facilities, that they're up to scratch, that also you have that gym membership included. That's the important thing. But if you get a bed and flex package, something we've thought for this year is to increase that from £10 to £12. So it actually helps you buy the food on campus because £10 is not going to get you much.
That's not a lot, no.
So it's really fighting for those things, and I'm having some meetings in the beginning of next term with the head of accommodation to really drill down on those prices and make sure we're lobbying them to make sure those prices are affordable for students.
That's really amazing. Do you think there's any other like big picture stuff that you are planning for like the coming years or
So
anything?
from term, something I've been working on, it's been quite hard, obviously, trying to squeeze money out of the university to fund these initiatives. But something that I'm working on for next term, and I'm fingers crossed comes to fruition.
Knock on wood.
But it's a really good initiative. I want to start a breakfast club. So providing students with free breakfast every single day of the week.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So from just handing out, grab and go breakfast like porridge, bread, fruit, and that type of stuff. So we've gotten really far ahead from it now. We're just in the kind of planning stages and the figuring out where we're going to do it from, what we're going to do it. We've costed it all out, so it's coming to fruition. So hopefully from term 2 in the beginning of January, you come back, you should hopefully see the breakfast club come to life.
That's amazing. Do you think with the cost of living crisis, I know that's something that Kent Union did was put in place the campus pantry, or I guess like maybe, I don't know when it was put in place, but maybe like try to make people more informed.
Yes.
Do you think that there's a way to make it easier to access, or like a way to make it, because I know the first time you can go in, but I know that if you want to access it multiple times, then it's like you have to have a conversation with someone beforehand.
Yes.
And so is there a way to just make that easier for people to do? Because I mean,
And we thought
Yeah.
about this massively because there's a huge stigma around food banks and using food banks,
yeah,
and a lot of students actually don't feel like they're in the worst position, so they never ask for help.
yeah,
And we want to make it easy for them to ask for help
Yeah.
when they do need it, when they can't afford to buy food. No student should go hungry,
yeah.
so they need to be able to access that. So that's why in the beginning of the year, Tom actually renamed the food bank to Campus Pantry to remove that stigma.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we've
Yeah.
had that food bank for some time now, but it hasn't been
Yeah.
used as much, obviously, because of people
The
thinking.
stigma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Campus Pantry actually has been used a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the processes, that's where it gets a bit difficult.
Mm-hmm.
We are still no questions asked.
Yeah.
First time, second time. It's just we know if you're coming back again to use it, you're in need of more support than
Yeah.
just
And just
access to
once.
food.
Yeah.
Like we just refer you to an advisor who are really lovely people, and they go through financial advice. Also we have loads of financial hardship funds available to students that not many students know about. We're trying to push that out.
Yeah.
So those advisors can actually identify which hardship funds you can access and help you do an application for it if you do need it, and really give you that advice. Also refer you to student support and well-being if you are, food insecurity is a massive thing. Like
Especially for university students.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
people expect us to eat pasta on a daily basis and like
No,
expect it.
yeah.
It's not okay.
Yeah, it's not.
Students
no.
don't deserve to be hungry on the
Yeah.
they're working so hard, they deserve to be fed good, they deserve to have access to food and
Yeah.
affordable food.
Yeah.
So it's really important to have those resources in place where we can help students out, but also make sure that they're set up for future life as well.
Mhm.
Later down the line,
Yeah.
we want to make sure that they have that access there available to them at any time,
Mhm.
but with support.
That's amazing. Okay, so I mean, you have spoken a lot about transparency and making sure that people are aware of things that Kent Union is doing.
Yeah.
So in terms of that, and in terms of officer transparency and what Kent Union is actually doing, do you think there's any more else that can be done to make students aware of Kent Union officers and like actively engage with them and also just know what they're doing?
100%. There's always more we can do.
Yeah.
Like there's not a point where you can get and you stop,
Yeah.
because there's always going to be students who aren't that engaged with the union and don't really know what you do.
Yeah.
This year we've taken a massive leap towards being more visible as an officer team. So if you see it on social media, see us out and about, we're very much out there as a whole team, just to make sure that people recognize us and they see us as a friendly face that they can come talk to.
Mhm.
And I think it's helped because I've had loads of students come up to me and just approach me and talk to me about their problems because they felt comfortable to do so.
Yeah.
And that's kind of special. And I really have worked hard to not make it just always so serious.
Yeah.
Because for people to be comfortable with you, you need to show them your true personality and who you are, and that's where that social media side comes into it.
Yeah.
But also seeing us out in the plaza or like walking around or being in the library asking questions is really important. And this thing also feeds into like being visible in Medway and making sure that Medway students know that who your officers are. There's a lot of work we have to do to get to a stage where I think it's going to be amazing, but it will take time. I mean, it all depends on the stuff the union puts out. We want to put stuff out that engages students, that makes you stop on your feet for a minute and actually watch the video.
Watch the video. Yeah.
Like those things are, if it has to be clickbait, it has to be clickbait. You gotta do what you gotta do. But we have to try new and different ways. And we have to ask students, be like, what do you want to see from us?
Mhm.
Everything that we do as officers is guided by the student priorities that students decided on.
Mhm.
It's not our own stuff, it's what students want us to do.
Yeah.
And we need to continuously improve that process so we have feedback coming in from all different angles, the engaged students, but especially the disengaged students,
Mhm.
because we also represent them even if they don't know what we do.
Yeah.
We still want to be able to help out in the problems that they face as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking about Medway, do you want to talk us through anything that you've been doing so far to improve Kent Union officer visibility at the Medway campus?
Of course. So I'm a Medway student through and through.
Yeah.
I lived there for 3 years. I know that Kent Union previously didn't have a lot of visibility as a union and as an officer team there.
Mhm.
And this year we have me as a Medway student, Lupe a Medway student, and Tom who did his master's in Medway as well.
Mhm.
So we have a really good Medway representation in the team. So what we've really focused on is actually showing up in Medway, being there on the ground, talking to students. So as some of the previous officers have mentioned as well, we've done roaming student forums. So we know that students in Medway don't actually go into buildings that much. They're usually in a specific room. Once they're done, they go home. That's the kind of vibe they're on. But what we've done is we've actually taken that approach of being proactive. So we've gone out with a bunch of questions on the areas that we want to be focusing on, or like what we think students want us to focus on, and then we'll go ask them. So we just enter classrooms if they're empty, or like, as we're walking, stop. People like, can we have
Just
like a 2-minute chat?
Yeah.
That 2-minute chat changes a lot of things. You know, for people who probably haven't ever even heard about Kent Union,
Yeah.
just someone on the officer team stopping you, having a conversation, actually listening to you, it creates that bond already, and makes sure that it shows that we care,
Yeah.
and that's important. And beyond that as well, we have to make sure that we close that feedback loop. So the feedback that we get, we actually implement the change to prove that we're doing stuff to help.
Yeah.
You know, because otherwise, what's the point of doing things that people don't know about and people don't feel like they're heard?
Yeah.
And Medway students deserve to be heard, they deserve to be listened to. So
especially at the end of the day, I think everyone just wants to feel listened to
exactly.
and to feel heard. And I think that's a really good thing that you're doing to make sure that, because I feel like a lot of people are not even aware that there is a Medway campus to begin with. And I think it's very, very important that I guess they have the same experience as
100%.
Canterbury campus.
An equitable experience, as I always say. Like, you know, they pay the same fees, they belong to the same university, they deserve an equitable experience to everyone in Canterbury.
Yeah.
So some of the things as well, as I mentioned, cost of living focus of the £3 meals, we're now hopefully replicating that in Medway, in the deep end as well, from the beginning of January. So you'll see both £3 meals here and £3 meals there.
Yeah.
And you'll also see an open pantry there as well now. So we've worked with the Greenwich Students' Union to really implement that in the deep end, so students have access to a campus pantry in Medway as well, and they don't have to travel up here to access that if they are hungry. They have that right there in their home. So we're really trying to replicate things that we're doing here, there as well, to give that equitable experience.
That's amazing. Okay, so in your report, you mentioned that you had done some work in trying to improve the sustainability of the university. So what's being done to improve the availability of plant-based dining around the campus?
This year, there's been obviously if you've seen the 100% plant-based campaign group, so they've submitted a campaign request, so we're trying to help them out in ensuring that they can actually spread the word about the campaign and get people to listen. But that lobbying group actually helps us lobby the university. It shows that students care about these issues, so the university will listen to it. There's power in collective. And those types of groups, the 100% plant-based group, they're amazing people and they're doing really good work. And that's something we're striving towards. Sometimes it's not feasible immediately, but it's something we always work towards, bit by bit. So something at Kent Union we are very proud of actually is like Woody's being our food serving outlet. Over 50% of the food in Woody's can be or is made vegan. So we have those plant-based options. Majority of our menu there is plant-based. So we're really trying to work on that and continuously improve that. Even the options in the library cafe, we've added a whole plant-based range. So people who are looking for a sandwich can get a coffee with oat milk, soy milk, almond milk, whatever your preference is, all alternatives. And also be able to get plant-based sandwiches and food.
Is there a way? Do you think that there's a way to make plant-based dining a little bit more affordable? Because something I know is, for example, oat milk or extra charges for that. So is there a way to I guess maybe subsidize those things, or just make it easier for people with alternative lifestyles to be able to get?
That's something we do need to look into, because I know soy milk is free. Because soy milk is the same price. It's always the oat milk and almond milk. So it's looking at the feasibility of it, the usage, whether we then also look at what milks we offer in the first place. Whether if there's even an uptake in people using coconut milk, do we just swap that out but subsidize the other milks that are more popular? So that's something we'll definitely look into.
That's really great.
And on that as well, affordable vegan options. £3 meals, I have to say it again, there is always a vegan option, lunch and dinner.
Amazing. Okay, so in your report, again, you mentioned that there's a current political attack on trans rights, and yet something I've noticed is that there's a lack of gender-inclusive bathrooms, etc. on campus. What can be done to improve trans visibility on campus?
This is a really important question, and it's an amazing question. Thank you so much for asking that.
Of course.
We see on a daily basis trans people come under attack by the government, by society. You see it on the news, you see it on like Fox News and stuff, and there's like TikTok videos. It's horrible. You're really putting people's existences as a topic of conversation, and it's disgusting. I feel really strongly about it, and so does the officer team. So what we're really trying to do is make sure that we're supporting our trans students as much as possible.
Mhm.
Trans visibility means listening to trans students, non-binary students, gender-neutral students, and how we represent them and the resources that they need.
Mhm.
So something I'm really, really proud of is actually ensuring that every single Kent Union building has a gender-neutral toilet.
Yeah.
Even venue, Mandela building, Woolies, everything has a gender-neutral toilet,
Yeah.
one at minimum. Um, and beyond that is like things like the Gender Affirmation Fund that we've worked on this year, which has been really, really amazing, and it's been in collaboration with the university, but it provides trans, non-binary, and gender-neutral students to actually access this fund and be able to buy clothing or any piece of kit that helps them feel more comfortable in their skin.
That's amazing.
And we've had great uptake on it, and we're really trying to like provide that fund because we know how expensive those items are. You know, transitioning or even being comfortable in those skills, they're expensive things like binders. They're so expensive.
Yeah.
So having that fund is really useful. It ran out really quickly. Actually, we had such a good uptake on it.
Mhm.
So we've now secured funding for it for next year as well, for students to apply next year. But also we're doing like a penalty shootout fundraiser on the 14th of December, I think, and we're raising money on that fundraiser for the Gender Affirmation Fund, so we can keep topping up that. So that's really important to us. We also recognize that, sometimes trans students aren't listened to by certain members of the university staff, or aren't seen, or get dead named, and it's horrible. That shouldn't be happening. From the get-go, when we came in, me and Tom made sure that we knew graduations were coming up, and we wanted to make sure that they were identifying and contacting the students who had a different preferred name on their records, so that only their preferred name is read out when they're graduating and not their dead name, because that ruins their entire experience.
It does.
You need to make sure that you're saying the name that fits them. Simple as. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of work we're doing to ensure that visibility. Even things around like LGBTQ History Month in February. Yeah, February.
February.
Yeah, that's really important to us to make sure that we're highlighting our trans students and the struggle of trans people around the world, and really highlighting the impact that they've had on our culture and the value they bring. It's amazing the work that trans people have done throughout time, especially for the LGBTQ community. The queer community owe everything to the trans community, and there is no LGB without the T. So we're really fighting for that.
That's really, really, really cool. Do you think that these are, I guess, processes that might take some time? I mean, because regarding example, like what I said before with the whole gender neutral toilets, like that's something that's just, I guess, has just been there.
Yeah.
And so do you think it's something that's going to take some time, as in like, okay, we now have to come up with a plan, and we have to just change this whole thing entirely?
100%. It's beyond just the operational shift, it's that societal shift in people's mind, especially when you see the demographic of the universities out there from a very different generation to us, and that's where we come in to really push them and make them understand how important these aspects are, how important it is to have a toilet where you can go comfortably, like it's really essential to someone's like well-being, existence. So we want to make sure. Right now, I've identified, obviously, the question, I wanted to make sure that I knew what I was talking about. In terms of gender neutral toilets, there's up to 50 around campus, but there's also knowing where they are and
how to access them.
Exactly, where's the map? So I really want to push that out there. So thank you for bringing that up as well.
That's really, really cool. So we got some questions in from some viewers. So the first one is, what's the status on the cost of living open letter?
Okay, so as you have probably seen in the news, the government has had a lot of political turmoil.
Yeah.
So at the time of writing the letter, we wrote it to certain ministers who are no longer in their positions. So we have basically kind of signed the letter to the ministers who are in the current Department of Education.
Yes.
But we're also with the presidents of the Southern Unions, because we're working collaboratively. They're adding some bits in and making sure they're, we're changing with the times because things are moving so rapidly. We want to make sure that we're putting in the right data. So we have more data coming in, so we're changing that, and that's being sent off next week to the Minister for Education and the Minister for Higher and Further Education as well. So both of them will receive that. And we have actually met with a few really important people from Universities UK, but also from UCAS, who have meetings with the Department of Education, and also people from the US. So we're really trying to push that so they take it seriously and actually give us a response. So as soon as I get a response, I will let you guys know. I promise.
Yeah. So what's the hope of that then? Like, what's the long-term plan? What do you think that's
Yeah.
going to achieve? Or like, what do you hope?
So the demands in the letter are quite simple actually.
Mhm.
It's ensuring that the Department of Education actually looks at and reviews the student finance payments
Mhm.
because they haven't been adjusted for inflation. They haven't
Okay.
even, inflation is at like an all-time high.
Mm.
You need to readjust it so that students who are receiving the maximum maintenance loan are getting the right amount of money because that's the money that they're living on. You know, you need to make sure that they're getting the right amount of money. But also in terms of assessing that, the household income brackets that they judge it on haven't changed in 2007. And that's horrible.
Yeah.
You know, we're
It's been a long
it's
time.
been a long time. It's time to speed up, you know.
Yeah.
So I hope this letter kind of pressures them to really rethink that, and also it adds on to the voices of thousands and hundreds of thousands of students across the country who are saying the same thing.
Mhm.
So we're really trying to bring this coalition together to push that letter forward, and make the government listen and make them take us seriously
Yeah.
as students. Like it's really important. The Department of Education and the government who work for us, we are their constituents,
Yeah.
and they need to listen to us, and that's where we come in as a collective. There's, as I said, power in collective, so we need to kind of lobby them together. Another thing also on that letter, we've also asked for them to provide us with evidence and proof of what they're actually doing to help,
Yeah.
because we don't really see anything. There's no transparency in the stuff that they're working on to aid students currently in the cost of living crisis.
I think you mentioned that it was something that you collaborated on with the
Unions, yeah.
Southern unions. Is this something that you hope can be replicated, I guess, nationwide, or something that you would like to include other parts of the country in?
100%. We recognize as of Southern unions, we've obviously met over summer and made really good connections with the sabbatical officer teams
Mhm.
and all the student unions in the south of England.
Yeah.
But we face, I think, a different kind of, how do I describe it? Different issues compared to people, student unions in the north of England. There's different issues all
Mhm.
across because regionally they vary.
Yeah.
But some things are the same, like student finance,
Mhm.
like the cost of living crisis. We need to come together as a collective. So we have worked with like NUS on the cost of living open letter that they said, but we thought it would add more power if we also sent one as our collective.
Yeah.
So it's just piling on top of those voices.
Yeah, it just doubles
Double
the force.
Exactly, yeah. The more voices, the better. That's why I was really out there on the plaza trying to get people to sign in and
Mhm.
understand what this is about, because every signature, even though for some people it may seem small,
Mhm.
that is your voice. That is your power imprinted on this letter, and it
Mhm.
adds weight to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. What are your thoughts about the outcome of the NUS referendum?
So obviously, I think so. The NUS referendum didn't reach quorum, which was quite disappointing in my view. I think we're in a time where I really want students to engage politically
Mhm.
and to really stand up for themselves. It's really important. And something like this to really decide, whether you're with a national political lobbying union,
Mhm.
I hoped more students would turn out for it,
Yeah.
but they didn't. But we did obviously have the results. We have been in discussions on what are the next steps. I don't have any further kind of developments on that yet,
Mhm.
but anything that comes out of it, are the discussions from the board of trustees as well, will be put out accordingly on social media and on our website.
Do you think anything can be done, I guess, to improve student, involvement
Mhm.
in more political things? Because, as you said, it seems like a lot of students are quite apathetic about things at the moment. So, do you think that there's anything you as Kent Union officers can do to improve students' involvement in
Yeah.
these very important things that are happening around them?
100%. I feel like there's a lot in our power to be able to actually show people the power of being political in this
Mhm.
day and age, and how important it is for our generation to take a stand. And the things like that is really getting them involved in national campaigns, getting them involved in demonstrations, even the things like industrial action. Kent Union Parliament voted in support of strike action, and that's a political move. You're using your power as a collective to, lobby a body to take you seriously and to make sure that they meet your demands, to make sure that you get fair pay, wages. So getting students involved in that, if you can focus in on that and really see these lecturers and stuff striking, and you can see that they have power,
Mhm.
you should also be able to get involved. So really try to push that out, push that information out. But even things as getting people to register to vote.
Yeah.
It's really important.
Yeah.
You have a power, you have a voice. Use that voice to vote the right way. To vote for whoever you think is best. Is really important to us. We've all launched, I think, our new brand as well for like our democracy in a sense, and it's called Lead Kent.
Yes.
So we're trying to be a lot more radical. Something the representation democracy team at Kent Union has worked really hard on. So that branding is really, you know, it's really important. And there's a slogan. I don't know if I can swear, but it's like, can you make like shit happen? You know.
Yeah.
So can you like it's in your hands. It's up to every single student to like stand up for themselves. And we have to come together. We have to fight it. I'm trying to really kind of get people engaged in that, but it is also really hard because of the political turmoil this country's been in. People have political fatigue.
Yeah.
They're tired of
Everyone's
it.
exhausted
Of seeing the news and this all negativity and all just government failing us. It's all like government's changing. It's all you know, the war, everything going on. It's a lot for people, and especially on top of the cost of living crisis, on top of their education, on top of everything, on top of surviving, existing. Like, I get it.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. So I don't expect anyone to like, you know, force themselves to do it, but it's something that I really hope I can like influence in my time.
Okay. Final question. You mentioned that you have influenced a campaign called Lead Kent. Do you want to just tell us more about that?
Of course. So Lead Kent is our new branding for our democracy, kind of stands in representation and democracy, and will be used for the leadership elections down the line. And it's to kind of be a bit more bold, a bit more different, get people kind of engaged a bit differently. A lot of the times I think students' union elections are really plain and they're really like, you know, civilized and boring sometimes. So we're trying to be a bit different, be a bit more shocking. And it's like, you know, the black and yellow always sticks out.
Oh my god.
You know, it's very
just very in your face, isn't
it?
it?
Exactly. And the core of students' unions from the beginning of their formation was being radical, being that change, being loud. And that's where we need to go back to. We need to go back to our roots. That's what Lead Kent is going to do.
Amazing. Okay, thank you so much, Dave. Thank you for listening. And
thank you for asking amazing questions.
Of course. Okay.
Leave.
I can feel them running in the.
Period.
That was entertaining.
Yeah, I loved it.
That was great. I think we actually took longer than I thought we would.
Yeah, that was